Right, now let us see different set of operators and expressions present in C. So operators and expressions. So what we know is expression consists of operands and operators. Expression consists of operands and operators. So we have different set of operators like arithmetic operators, logical operators and all. So let us see one sample expression. So what is this? Here we have defined an expression. What is that expression? A star B plus 3. So that is what is an expression which is consisting of operators and the operands. What are the operators present in this expression? Star and plus. What are the different operands? A, B and 3 are the different set of operands. So various types of operators, these many set of operators which we will be studying in this subject later. That is arithmetic, assignment, bitwise, conditional, increment and decrement, logical, relational and special set of operators we are going to study. So the very first arithmetic operators are, as it is very fundamental mathematics, we know that addition, it is represented by plus. It is going to find sum of two numbers. Say for example, a plus b equal to 15, right? Or plus a, which is going to increment the a. That is, if it is a positive operand, we are going to represent by using plus a. If it is negative operand, we are going to represent by using minus a. That is the representation of the operands. Subtraction, what it does, it is going to subtract one operand from the other. So here it is given unary. Is it an unary operator or the binary operator? So unary operator means they are going to operate on single operand. Binary means they are going to operate on both the operands. So these are both they are coming under both the categories. Now coming to multiplication. Multiplication is a binary operator. That is, the purpose of this is to give the multiplication of two operands. Division of two, modulo. What the difference here is, it's going to, division is going to respond or provide the quotient, and modulo is going to provide the remainder. Modulo is going to provide the remainder. So that's what the example is taken here. What is the value of A? A is 10 and B is 5. A is 10 and B is 5. That is 10 into 5 is how much? 10 into 5 is 50. Then 10 divided by 5 is 2. Why? Because division is going to return the quotient. Division is going to return the quotient. That is 10 when you divide it by 5 into 2 is equal to 10, and we are going to get the remainder as 0. So what it is what is called as remainder in mathematics. It is remainder, and what it is quotient. It is what it is called as quotient. So the division operation always it is going to give 2. Why the result is 2? It's going to return the quotient. Modulo operator will always return the remainder. What is A modulo B here? A modulo B is 0. So it is going to return the 0. So you should always know the difference between this division and the modulo operator. Division and the modulo operator. So let us go to the next, assignment operator. These are set of operators. The assignment operator basically is used for assigning some value to the variable which is present at the left side. That is, say these are the different examples. B is equal to A and B is equal to 10. Why? Because the value of A is 10 here. That 10 is being assigned to B. So this is plus equal. This is shorthand notation for, say for example, if you have written here, this is an expression. Plus equal to, it is nothing but B is equal to B plus A. This can be written like this, B plus equal to A. This is shorthand notation what we use in the programming. B equal to B plus A can be written like B plus equal to A. That is just a shorthand notation. And this shorthand assignment can be combined with all the operators. We can combine it with star, division, modulo, right? All the operators can be combined with this. Next, we have set of bitwise operators. These bitwise operators will operate on individual bits of the operand. They are going to operate on individual bits. That means the operands will be treated in their binary form. The operands will be treated in their binary form. Operands will be treated in their binary forms, that is AND, OR, exclusive OR, left shift, right shift. So many bitwise operators we have. Next, it is a complement one. How they are going to operate on individual bits? So they are going to operate on individual bits. That is A equal to 10. Value of A is equal to 10 and B is equal to 5. So these are the binary forms of this. That is A equal to 10 and B equal to 5. That is A. No, actually these values are wrong in this. It is not actually 10. It will not form 10. 100 1010 is 10. This is wrongly given in the textbook. These values are wrong. For A and B, I feel these are wrong because the binary value for A is not. I don't think it is 0, 1 to raised to 0. Now this is 10. This is basically 10 for this variable. And B 2 raised to 0, 1, 2, 3. This is what is 10. And 10 is represented like this, and 5 is represented like 0. Yes, this is what is 5, what I feel. This first value is for 5. This is wrong, right? So once let us consider these correct binary values for this operand. A is equal to 10 and B is equal to 5. So when we have these operators will operate on individual bits. These operators will operate on individual bits of the operand. That means if you are going to perform AND operation, A and B is equal to, when both the bits are 1, then only the outcome will be 1. When both the bits are 1, then only outcome will be 1. So 0 and 1, it is 0, it is 0, it is 0 and it is 0. So A and B will be 0. That is the out. I think these you have studied in your previous subject. That is what is the truth table. We are going to study about truth table of the AND, OR, exclusive OR, and left shift, right shift, and negation. I think I need not explain all these to you. Or how OR works. OR works, either of the bit must be 1. Either of the bit must be 1. Then the resultant bit will be 1. That means 10 or 5. So what is that in this case? In this case, everything is 1. Why? Because any of the bits is 1 here. 0 or 1 is 1. 1 or 0 is 1. 0 or 1 is 1. 1 or 0 is 1. So that is the resultant. And similarly, the exclusive OR is 1. Only any of one, only one bit must be 1. Only one bit must be 1. Then only it is 1. In all other cases, it is 0. So for OR and XOR, this is the same result. For OR and XOR, this is the same result. Similarly, left shift all the bits to the left by 1 location 1. Shift all the bits to the right by location 1. Here how the left shift works. So these are the existing bits 000, 10, 111. If you left shift the bits by location 1, if you can see here, all these bits will be shifted to the left by location 1, and at the right side 0 will be added. At the right side 0 will be added. Here 000, this 0 we will lose because we are shifting it to the left. Then write all these remaining bits. What are the remaining bits? 0010 111, 0010 111. Then at the right side, at the end, we are going to add 0. At the end, we are going to add 0. So that is how the left shift works. Similarly, right shift is going to shift all the bits to the right, and we append the 0. Next, coming to negation. How this negation operator works is going to simply reverse the bits of the operand. 1 will be converted to 0, 0 will be converted to 1. That means negation of this operand is this one. That is 0001 will be 1110. Next set of operator here is conditional operator. Are you following the things? Are we connected? Is there a synchronization between audio and video? Is there any network issues from my side? Can someone respond? Are you following the concept?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Right, now let us see what actually is a conditional operator. What conditional operator? It is also called as ternary operator or tertiary operator in C. It is also called as ternary operator. This is the only operand in C. This is the only operand in C which is going to operate on three operands. Which is going to operate on three operands. Its general syntax is check the conditional expression. The outcome of conditional expression can be either true or false. Either true or false. If the outcome is true, we are going to execute expression 1. If the outcome is false, we are going to execute expression 2. That's why it's called as ternary operator. It's going to take three operands as the input. This entire thing is treated as one operand. This is treated as operand number 2. This is treated as operand number 3. So how this expression works here is, first we are going to evaluate this conditional expression, which can be either true or false. If it is true, evaluate expression 1. If it is false, evaluate expression 2. That's it. Two-way decision making statement. This is nothing but a two-way decision making statement. So that will be cleared by this. Right? Here values of A is being assumed as 10 and B is assumed as 5. First we evaluate this expression. A plus B, is it greater than 10? Yes, it is true. In that case, the outcome of the whole expression will be A. The outcome of whole expression will be A. That means we have to assign some value to C. What you have to assign? This is a ternary operator. First evaluate this expression. This is conditional expression, this is expression 1 and this is expression 2. Look at the syntax. Conditional expression, expression 1 and expression 2. So what the rule says? First evaluate this expression. First find whether it is true or false. If it is true, evaluate this. If it is false, evaluate this part. What is A plus B? A is 10, B is 5. 10 plus 5 is 15. Is 15 greater than 10? Yes, it is true. If it is true, what we do? If it is true, we are going to evaluate this part because this is true and we are going to evaluate this part. So what is happening in this part? Only simply A is being considered. The entire result of this expression now becomes only the value of A. Whatever is the value of A. What is value of A here? Value of A is 10. Then that 10 will be assigned to C. That 10 will be assigned to C. That is A equal to, that is C is equal to, what is that expression? A plus B, is it greater than 10? Is it greater than 10? Question mark A colon B. I'm going to explain it once again. So please concentrate how the ternary operator works. So what are the conditions for this execution? First you evaluate the conditional expression. The conditional expression can take any of the values, either if it is true, either it can be true, two possibilities for the conditional expression. It will be either true or false. If it is true, we'll evaluate expression 1, else we'll evaluate expression 2. So we'll check for its true value, whether is it true or false. So substitute the values. What are the values assumed here? A is being assumed as 10 and B is being assumed as 5. So first you evaluate 10 plus 5. Is it greater than 10? What is 10 plus 5? Is 15. 15 is greater than 10? Yes, it is true. That means what is the entire outcome of this expression? Entire outcome of this expression is true now. Now what the rule says? If it is true, we have to evaluate this expression immediately following the question mark. If it is false, we have to evaluate this expression. And whichever expression you evaluate, that will be the result of the entire expression, and that will be assigned to variable c. In this case, the first one is true. What is that? This entire expression is true. Then we are going to evaluate this part. So what is the value of a? Value of a is 10. That means what is the entire outcome of this expression? The outcome of this entire RHS is now 10, and that 10 will be assigned to C. That 10 will be assigned to C. That is how this ternary operator works. Increment and decrement operators, as the name itself says, they are going to increment the value of an operand by either 1 or decrement the value of an operand by 1. This increases. These are basically unary operators. That means they will operate only on single operands. When you say plus plus 1, then B will get a value 11. Why? Because present plus A. Present value of A is 10. When you increment the A by 1, A becomes 11. That 11 will be assigned to B. So the value of B is 1. Now when the same expression if you execute, what is the value of A? A is 10. Decrement the value of A. That is minus minus A. That means whatever value of A is there, do minus 1 to that and store the result in B. Then B will be having a value of 9. So these are the prefix and postfix expressions are there. So prefix and postfix. I think the things should not confuse you now. So what happens here is B equal to plus plus A. So what this expression indicates here is first increment the value of A, then use it in the expression. That is called as prefix or pre-increment and post-increment. Pre-increment and post-increment. So this example is taken here. If A is 5, what happens here is we are just executing one expression here. What is that? Increment the value of A and store the result in B. If you assume A as 5, then that 5 will be incremented first. That is plus plus A. Increment the value of A, then assign the result to B. That means then first A will be incremented, then A will become 6, and that 6 will be assigned to B. So the final value of B will be 6, and A will also be 6. And A will also be 6. Right. This is a bit complicated one for some of you. What I will do, the value of A, I'll write it in a box, and B, I'll write it in a box. Let us resolve some locations for this. Assume A is 5. Assume A is 5. I'm going to assume A as 5. Now, I should execute this expression. That is B equal to plus plus A. That means what is RHS? First evaluate RHS. What it is said in RHS? Plus plus A. Increment, pre-increment. Operator is coming in the before the operand. That is first you have to increment this. Plus plus A. Increment the value of A. So A is 5 here. When you increment this, what will be the value of A? When you increment this, A becomes 6. Then A has already become 6, and later that 6 is being assigned to B. Because its incremented value I am assigning it to B. Then what is the value of B now? B will get a value of 6. So that is what is the result after that. What is that? B is 6 and A is also 6. B is 6 and A is also 6. Now let us take one more example. That is for post increment. Leave some block of memory for A and B. Now perform A plus plus. What is the present value of A? We have assumed A as 5. We have assumed A as 5. And now we are executing this expression. Now we are trying to execute this expression. In this expression, what is RHS? In this expression, RHS is A plus plus. What it says? It is post increment. What is the meaning of this? First use the operand, assign it to B, then increment A. The meaning of this here is first use the operand, assign it to B, then increment the value of A. That means first you should use the operand. What is the value of A? Value of A is 5. That 5 should be assigned to B. Then B will get a value of 5. Then after that I am incrementing value of A. After that I am incrementing value of A. Later what happens? A will be incremented. Later A will be incremented, A will become 6. Now at the end, what is the outcome? This is what is the outcome. B will get a value of 5, B will get a value of 5, and A will have a value of 6. So that is the difference between pre-increment and post-increment. Such logical questions will be asked in the interviews. Some expression will be given, you have to perform pre-increment and post-increments. So is it clear, or should I explain it once again? If you have any doubts with this, please ask me, because it's a tricky one. Pre-increment and post-increment. The same thing works with the decrement also. Pre-decrement and post-decrement. That will also work with the decrement operator also. Should I explain it once again? If not required, then I'll go with the next part. If you need, you can ask me. Pre-increment and post-increment. Okay. The next set of operators are logical operators. Logical operators are going to return either true or false. 0 will be indicated by false and 1 will be indicated by true. The output 1 signifies it is true. The output 1 indicates true and 0 indicates false. 1 indicates true and 0 indicates false. So different set of logical operators, that is AND, OR and NOT. Their symbols are 2 times AND, 2 times OR operator and exclamatory. Symbol is for the negation. That means if you want the outcome of AND to be true, to return true if the conditions are true. That means both the conditions must be true, then only we are going to return true, else it is going to return false. In this case, for example, assume A is 10 and B is 5. A is 10 and B is 5. Now check both the expression. If you want the condition to be true, we should have both conditions to be true. In this expression, there are 2 conditions. In this expression, there are 2 expressions. What is that? The first sub part is A is less than 20. Is it true or false? Yes, it is true. What is the value of A here? Value of A is 10. 10 is less than 20, it is true. First part is true. And what is the second part? Second part is B is greater than 6. What is B? B is 5. Is 5 is greater than 6? No, it is false. Now what we have got the outcome here? True and false. For this entire thing to be true, we must have both sides true. True and false, the outcome is false. True and false, the outcome is false. Why? Because the AND, logical AND will return true only when both are true. Only when both are true. And in case of OR, if any one of expression is true, then the whole result is true. Then the whole result is true. Say for example, A is less than 20. Is it true? What is A? A is 10 and B is 5. A is 10 and B is 5. So let us evaluate this one. A is less than 20 or B is greater than 6. We have 2 expressions, sub expressions here. First evaluate this. Is A is less than 20? A is 10. 10 is less than 20. Yes, it is true. Or B is greater than 6. Is it true? Value of B is 5. 5 is greater than 6. No, it is false. Now how this expression will be treated? True or false. Or means any one must be true. Next, the outcome of this entire expression is true. Outcome of this entire expression is true because at least one condition is true. And negation, it is a unary operator. It's going to just negate the value. That is, whatever expression you pass, the reverse of that will be written. Say for example here, A is less than true. A is less than 20 is what? True. Negation of true is what? It is going to return false. Just reverse result is going to true. If the outcome of the expression is true, it will return false. If the outcome of the expression is false, it will return true. Now the set of relational operators. Relational operators, as the name itself says, the set of operators like less than, whether when operand is less than other operand, less than or equal to, greater than or equal to, right? Equal to and not equal to. So these are also going to return true or false. These are also going to return true or false depending on the type of the operand. That means whether A is less than 20, true or false, it is going to return true. Whether A is less than or equal to 20, yes, it is also true. Why? Because A is 10, B is 5. Whether A is greater than 20, yes, it will return false. Why? Because A is 10 and value being compared is 20. So 10 is greater than 20. So this is false. This is false. Similarly, A is greater than or equal to 20. Yes, this is also false. Equal to, whether A is equal to B, is it true or false? What is the value of A? Value of A is 10. Value of B is 5. So 10 is equal to 5? No, it will also return false. It is going to return 0. A is not equal to B? Yes, it is going to return true. Why? Because A is 10, B is 5. 10 is not equal to 5. That is how these relational operators work. Relational means they are going to check the relationship between two operands, one of first operand and the second operand. Special set of operators we're going to study called comma operator, size of operator, and pointer operator. So comma operator is always used to combine together the related expressions. If there are some related expressions, we are going to combine them together by using comma operator. This is where the comma operator is there. Assign A to 10, comma, B to 5. Then these two variables are being used in the expression, third expression. It is continuation here. So C equal to A minus B will be evaluated. So basically what happens, what is the value of A here? A is 10, B is 5. 10 minus 5 is 5, C will have a value of 1. So that's where the comma operator is used. If there are some variables or expressions which are related, if you want to join them into a single entity, we use the comma operator. And size of operator, what it indicates? It gives the size or the amount of memory occupied by any variable. That is what is written by the size of. If A is an integer, it will return 4 bytes. If A is a floating point variable, it will return 8 bytes. Alright? Whatever amount of memory is being occupied by the operand A, that will be written by the size of variable, and that will be size of function. It is also called as operator, size of operator, and that will be stored in the variable x. Next, these are the address of operator and star operator. These will be used while working with the pointers. So ampersand A, what it indicates? At relative address of variable A. That means in the entire memory, what address is assigned to variable A. That will be identified by using address of A. And what star A indicates? What is the value stored in that location? That is, it is going to retrieve the value reference by pointer variable A. What is the variable A? So this will be discussed in detail at the end of this module. So later I'll be discussing in detail about the pointers. Now when we have different set of operators, this table you should remember. So this is always going to indicate the precedence of all the operators what we study. That is priority given for the operators. The first priority is always given for this set of operators. In an expression, till now we were knowing the rule, that is bracket of division, multiplication, addition, subtraction. We were giving preference to the bracket, then division, multiplication, addition, and subtraction. But along with these, in the programming, we have all these set of operators. So first preference must be given for these set of operators. Right. Next for multiplication, division, modulo, then for binary operators plus, then relational operators, assignment operators, logical operators, then comma operator. This is how we give priority for the operators. This table you should remember. No logical explanation in this one. Whatever operators we have studied, all sets of operators, they have this priority. Highest priority, then lowest priority. Like say simple, for example, A plus B star C. When you have this expression, I'll take specifically like this. when you have 3 plus 2 into 4. So first priority you should give to 4. That means this expression will become 3 plus 2 into 4 is 8. Then this result will become 11. That is how you should evaluate when we have plus and star. Similarly, you should remember the priority for all these operators. Priorities to be given for all these operators. So this is just a program to accept two complex numbers and find their sum. That is accepting two complex numbers. Here structure is defined within the main function. Structure is being defined within the main function. For now, you just briefly know what actually is a structure. Structure is used to combine related pieces of information together. Like if you want to define integer part, you will have to declare variable separately, then imaginary part separately. What this, if you combine them into a single entity called structure, then we can declare variables of that particular structure. If you have one variable, it can contain one data, but related data we are going to combine that into a structure. And what are the entries present in this structure? The members of the structure are real part and the imaginary part. Real part and the imaginary part. Then we are going to declare the structure variables. That is struct complex. Three variables we are declaring: C1, C2 and C3. C1 is first variable, C2 is second variable, C3 is third variable. So just don't get confused. When you write int C1, C2, C3, what happens in the memory? Three memory locations will be reserved: C1, C2, C3. C1 is one integer variable which can hold one integer data. C2 can also hold one integer data. C3 can also hold one integer data. That is what we do if it is a normal variable. If it is a normal variable, normal integer variable. But in this case, what type of variables we are declaring? We are declaring variables of type struct complex. That means every variable will have two parts: real part and imaginary part. Then in this case, how C1 looks? C1 looks like this. C1 has two parts. What is that? Real part and imaginary part. Next, C2. C2 will have two parts. What is that? Real part and imaginary part. C3 will have two parts. That is the difference between normal variable and structure variable. C3 will have real part and imaginary part. Now these are the normal variables. I just deleted this. You can compare with the normal variables. Normal variables will have only, they can hold one memory location, but here the difference here is the structure variable. Structure variable is having two components: real component and imaginary component. I'll erase this part. Right? C1, C2, C3. Do you have any other class now? If I extend for 10 more minutes, will it be any problem to you? Can someone respond? Is there any other class scheduled?
No, sir.
Shall I extend for?
No, sir.
Okay. Then I'll take some more time. I'll complete this class. I'll complete this program, explanation of this program. Okay, this is what is happening in the very first line. The very first line, what has happened here is we have declared structure variables. How many variables? Three variables: C1, C2, C3. C1, C2, C3, three variables are being declared. Three structure variables are being declared. Now what is the next statement? Next statement is just clear screen. It is going to clear the entire screen, make it free for the execution. Right? Next statement is clear screen. Now, next thing we are asking user to enter two complex numbers x plus iy. We know that complex numbers will contain the real part and the imaginary part. X we are referring to real part plus I, Y we are referring to imaginary part. Among that, first enter the real part of the first complex number, and that will be stored in the real part of the complex number. Say, let us say you are giving this input 22I4, 5I3, two complex numbers 22I4, 5I3. These are the two complex numbers which we are trying to 24 plus I4 X plus IY. And another number is 5I3. Another number is 5 plus I3. So this is what is X and this is what is I, that is X plus IY. So X plus IY complex number we are trying to enter. So what is the first complex number? 24I4. First complex number is 22I4. 22 or 24, whatever you can give, any number. But in this example it is taken as 22. So I'll preferably try to stick to 22. 22I4. So when you have these two complex numbers, this is complex number 1 and this is complex number 2. We want to find sum of these. Sum of these we know that what is that? Sum will be 27I7. Sum will be 27I7 by adding real part and imaginary part individually. Now let us write the code for that. You should be able to read the real part. What is this? This is real part of first complex number. What is this? This is imaginary part of the first complex number. What is this? Real part of the second complex number. What is this? Imaginary part of the second complex number. So you should read them separately. So this is the fundamental. Now let us see the code wise. Whenever you are entering, first you give the real part, enter, then imaginary part. So whatever real part is there, where you want to store that real part in. Whenever this statement is executed, what you give input, we are going to input the first complex number. What is first complex number? 22I4. That means what is the real part of the first complex number? 22. You are going to give 22 as the input. And where that is being stored? C1 dot real. That means store that in real part of the first complex number. So where this statement is going to refer? This statement is going to refer to this location. Exactly this location. What it says? Store that value, whatever is entered by the keyboard, whatever is entered by the programmer, in the real part of the first complex number. That is how we access members of the structure by using dot operator. Store at the address of C1 dot real. So it will be stored here. What you have entered? We have entered 22. So 22 will be stored in the real part of the first complex number. Then what is the next statement? We are asking for enter imaginary part of the first complex number. What is imaginary part? Imaginary part is 4. So if you enter 4, where it will be stored? It will be stored in the imaginary part of the first complex number. So to which location it will refer? It will refer to this location. What is the imaginary part that you have given? You have given imaginary part as 4. You have given imaginary part as 4. Similarly, you have to read the second complex number. So what is the second complex number? In our case, second complex number we have assumed as 5I3. That means real part is 5. So now we are asking user to enter the real part of the second complex number. What is the real part of the second complex number? 5. That means where I have to store? I have to store it here. What is the statement for that? Scan the real part and store it in the location where? Store in the real part of the second complex number. So which location it will refer? It will refer to this location. Store it in the real part of the second complex number. What is real part you have given? You have given real part as 5. Next statement. Ask imaginary part of the second complex number. What is imaginary part of the second complex number? Imaginary part of the second complex number is 3. And you have to give 3 as the input. So what is the input? 3 as the input. Where it will be stored? It will be stored in the, you should store it in this location. How we can access that? Store it in imaginary part of the second complex number. So where this statement will refer? This statement will refer to this location. What is that? 3 will be stored here. Now we have read two complex numbers. How do you find this real part now of the third complex number? Add real part of the first complex number with real part of the second complex number and store it in real part of the third complex number. That's it. So that is nothing but this is the statement. What is that? C3 dot real is given by C1 dot real plus C2 dot real. That means this is equal to this plus this. This is equal to this plus this. What is this plus this? 22 plus 5 is 27. We have stored. Similarly, imaginary part. How is the imaginary part? This plus this equal to this. How do you access the imaginary part? C3's imaginary part is equal to C1's imaginary part plus C2's imaginary part. So add those and store it in the result. C3's imaginary part is equal to C1's imaginary part plus C2's imaginary part. 4 plus 3 is 7. So 23 plus I7 is the resultant value. And these are the corresponding format specifier, and we are displaying the result in the predefined format. That is, first display the real part of the first complex number, real part of the imaginary part of the first complex number, real part of second complex number, imaginary part of second complex number, real part of third complex number, imaginary part of third complex number. So that is how we read the complex number and store the result. So this is what it is going to define a structure with values real and imaginary. It is going to define a structure named complex. And these are three structure variables as I explained, and this is going to perform some arithmetic operations. So this is what end of the first half module. We have completed first half modules. Kindly go through these review questions and all. Any questions you have? The second half module will be continued in the next class.